طيب الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ثم عما بعد فإن أصدق الكلام كلام الله تبارك وتعالى وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم عما بعد Inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, we wanted to continue our discussion from the book of the Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, Quwaid al-Arba, the 4 rules of shirk, regarding shirk, with the explanation from Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan hafidhahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And we went over the first rule yesterday, walhamdulillah. For those who weren't able to be here, well, all of y'all were basically here yesterday, mashallah. So today we're going to go over the second rule. The first rule being, you must know that the disbelievers whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fought against agreed that Allah Azza wa Jal was the creator and the administrator, but this belief did not cause them to enter into the fold of Islam at all. So this is the first rule of the 4 rules of shirk, that the people whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fought against, the kuffar Quraysh that he fought against in his time, that they believed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the creator and the sustainer of humanity, and they didn't make shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pertaining to this, even though they themselves fell into shirk. Even though they themselves fell into shirk. And that's pertaining to a tawheed or rububiyyah, that just because a person has the belief of the tawheed of rububiyyah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord and the sustainer, does not mean that this person is a Muslim, or that this person is under the fold of al-Islam. So the second rule that we wanted to look at from the Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala is that he said, they, yani the kuffar, said, we did not invoke them nor turn towards them except to seek nearness to Allah Azza wa Jal and their intercession. And the proof for their seeking nearness to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah Al-Zumar in the 3rd ayah, where Allah Azza wa Jal, he says, what translates to, and those who take protectors besides him, they say, we only worship them so that they may bring us closer to Allah. Verily Allah will judge between them concerning that which they differ in. Verily Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala does not guide he who is a liar, a disbeliever. So this is the second rule, Ikhwan wa akhwat, barakallahu fikum, that the disbelievers, the kuffar, said that we did not invoke them, yani these other gods. And when they say them, meaning these other gods, nor turn towards them except to seek nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their intercession. To seek nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they only invoke these other things to get close to Allah. Not that they thought that they were Allah, or that they thought that they were the creator, or that they thought that they were the sustainer, or they thought that they were the provider, or anything like that. Rather, they only did this as a means to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though there was no legislation for it. طيب. So, Shaykhana Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala, he explains this and he says they didn't claim that their gods created and sustained along with Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, or that they brought about good and caused harm, or administered the affairs of the universe along with Allah Azza wa Jal. Rather, they only believe that these false gods were intercessors that would bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if they worship them. If they worship them by doing whatever the innovative things that they came up with as a means of worshiping this false god, if they do this, then for whatever reason in their mind, the shaitan has assumed to them that this god will bring them closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. They worship them and do whatever they do as a means of seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by worshiping this false god. And he brings the statement of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala in Surah Yunus, where Allah Azza wa Jal, he says, and they worship besides Allah that which can neither harm them nor benefit them. And they say, these are our intercessors along or before Allah Azza wa Jal. These are our intercessors before Allah Azza wa Jal. So they only held them as intercessors who would mediate between Allah Azza wa Jal to meet their needs. Those people that they made as intercessors with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were those, or only those, who would mediate before Allah Azza wa Jal to meet their needs. And this was the belief of the people of shirk. This was the belief of the people of shirk. So if you were to debate with the grave worshipper of today, he will argue in exactly the same manner. He would argue with you in exactly the same manner, saying, I know that this wali, or this protector, or this ally of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or righteous person cannot bring any harm or good, but he was righteous, he was a righteous person, and I want him to intercede on my behalf. So they'll say this today. If you find Jamaatul Tabligh, or the people who worship at the graves as a means of seeking nearness to Allah Azza wa Jal, then you'll find that they're making the same statements that the people of the past made. The same statements that we're only doing this as a means of getting close to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And the Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he continues and he says, the intercession that is true and valid is the one that meets two conditions. The true intercession is the one that meets two conditions. And the first condition is that it must be by Allah's permission. The intercession must be given permission by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And the second condition is that the one who is being interceded for must be upon Tawheed. The one who is being interceded for must be a person of Tawheed, must be a believer, must be a Muslim. Even if he may be a sinful Muslim. Even if this person may be a sinful Muslim. And this is a refutation against the Quwaid who say that if a person commits a sin, then their blood becomes halal. La, this is a refutation against them. Even if the person is a sinful Muslim, then intercession he can be interceded for by whoever Allah Ta'ala gives the permission to intercede. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah in the 255th ayat, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِثْنِهِ. Who is it that will intercede in His presence except with His permission? So Allah wa ta'ala is saying, who is it that's going to intercede with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except that He gives permission? And we clearly know that this is no one. No one will intercede for no one except that Allah wa ta'ala gives that permission. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions in Surah Al-Anbiya in the 28th ayah, and they cannot intercede except for Him with whom He is pleased. They cannot intercede except for Him with whom He is pleased. So only the one who Allah wa ta'ala is pleased with is going to be the one who will intercede for the people. And the Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he says this includes those who may be sinful yet worship Allah Azza wa Jal alone upon Tawheed. As for those who disbelieve in Allah Azza wa Jal and worship others besides Allah wa Ta'ala, then the intercession of those who intercede on their behalf will not help them and will not benefit them. And Allah wa Ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-Ghafir in the 18th ayah that there will be no friend or intercessor for those of the wrongdoers that will be given heed to. So the wrongdoers will have no intercessor, and there will be no one to intercede for them on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Barakallahu feekum. And the Shaykhana Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, he says that these people, yani the grave worshippers, heard about intercession but didn't understand its meaning properly. So they sought it from certain individuals without the permission of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And this shows that these people do not know the meaning of true and false intercession. They don't understand the meaning of true and false intercession. An intercession is of two types. As the Shaykh, he mentions that the intercession is of two types. The intercession that is negated and the intercession that is affirmed. And the negated intercession is that which is sought from someone other than Allah wa Ta'ala in matters that no one has the ability to carry out except Allah wa Ta'ala. Allah wa Ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah in the 254th ayah, He says, "O you who believe, spend of that which we have provided for you, before a day comes when there will be no bargaining, nor friendship, nor intercession. And it is the disbelievers who are the wrongdoers." It is the disbelievers who are the wrongdoers. So the intercession has conditions and restrictions, ikhwan wa akhwat barakallahu fikum, that is not restricted. It has conditions and restrictions, and it is not it is not unrestricted, meaning you just can't do it the way you want to do it. And the second intercession is the affirmed intercession, and it is that which is sought from Allah wa Ta'ala. And the intercessor is one who is granted the honor of being able to intercede by Allah wa Ta'ala, while the one who is interceded for is the one whom Allah Azza wa Jalla is pleased with his statements and his actions, after Allah's permission is granted. After Allah's permission is granted. all of these things occur after the permission of Allah wa ta'ala is granted. So the second type of intercession, ikhwan wa akhwat, barakallahu fikum, is the intercession that is accepted or affirmed. And it's affirmed because the permission of it is given by Allah Azza wa Jal, and the person who is being interceded for is a person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. As Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah in the 255th ayah, who is it that will intercede in His presence except with His permission? Who is it that will intercede in His presence except with His permission? Shaykhana Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he gives an explanation of this affirmed intercession, and he mentions that this type of intercession is only for those who single Allah Azza wa Jal out in ibadah alone, upon a tawheed. And as for the one who commits shirk and associates partners with Allah Azza wa Jal, then no intercession is done on his behalf, and on his behalf will be able, and no one will be able to help him. No one will be able to intercede for him, and no one will be able to help him. And anyone that presents sacrificial offerings and makes oaths to people in graves is a person of shirk. Is a person of shirk. And no intercession will help them or be done for them. Even if it's done for them, the person who does it didn't have the permission to do it, and the person who is being done for doesn't have permission for it to be done for them. And in summary, negated intercession is that which is either of two types: one, sought without Allah's permission, or two, done on behalf of someone who associates partners with Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, meaning they're a person of shirk, or they're a mushrik, or something like this. So this negated intercession has these two types with it, that either it's done without the permission of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, or it's done for someone who is upon other than tawheed. And may Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala save us from that. Ikhwan wa akhwat, barakallahu fikum. And this is what I wanted to present today for our brief nasiha. And we're still going over Quwaid al-Arba, and this was the second Quwaid that we were looking at pertaining to the Quwaid. This was the second one, that the people who used to commit shirk, that they said that we did not invoke them nor turn towards them except to seek nearness to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. They only sought these things as a means of getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, and this was their intention. And this is also a proof, ikhwan wa akhwat, barakallahu fikum, that just because you intend something doesn't mean that you're rewarded for that intention if the action that you're doing is not based upon the kitab and the sunnah. If the action that you're doing is not based upon that which is correct, then you'll find that the intention will follow it in not being correct. So you have to have the action has to be solely for the sake of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, and it has to be according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for it to be accepted. And the intention has to follow the same yardstick. The intent has to be purely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and the action being done along with that intention has to be done in the accordance of the kitab and the sunnah upon the faham of as-salaf as-salih. And so this is the second Quwaid that we wanted to present today, and inshallah ta'ala tomorrow we'll go over the third one. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.